Every strategy game has that one map or battle that just never leaves your mind. It leaves an impression on you harder than a parent beating you because they lost all their money at the casino. Battles so hard that they have your eyes rolling back in your head. For me, these are those battles. We're going to start off with my dearly beloved triangle strategy. The Golden Route final battle for Norzelia is fucking amazing. It's honestly one of the few final battles I can say that lives up to its name. I tend to enjoy my strategy games on hard mode, and if possible, I like to play the battles deathless. This one pushed me to my limits. I'm talking I was frothing at the mouth, and by the end of it, I had a massive headache. I actually had to attempt this battle twice, totaling nearly 3 hours. So what's going on here? Puppets on strings, dead corpses, and a demigod who's invulnerable until you hit him. Pretty normal JRPG final boss stuff. For this battle, there are eventually 2 copies of the Hierophant, Edor, and some minions. This is an extremely threatening composition because the enemies are hard to approach. The Hierophant can summon minions, charm you, and field wipe any characters that have 3 or more TP. If that wasn't bad enough, they also have a magical gun that can shoot magic bullets. I'm only half joking. As for the Rosellan corpses, they're not so bad, but the thing is you have to kill them faster than they can be summoned, which can be a little challenging. The truly challenging part of this map is making your way through all of the previously mentioned to kill Edor. Edor is incredibly tanky, he gets to block 1 hit for free, he can steal TP, summon more Hierophants, stun you, and the cherry on top is he gets to act and move twice. This guy is absolutely juiced up, but he claims it's all natural. So Corvie, how did you get through this battle deathless, you ask? I cheesed the fuck out of it. I brought my strongest warriors, a 10-year-old girl, an orphan-turned-general girl, and a doctor girl. I'm ashamed to admit it, but I had to field Medina for this map. My initial strategy revolved around abusing the fact that Edor only has 3 movement. Because he can move twice, it's technically 6, but if you abuse ranged ice stones, it cuts his movement down to 4 when moving over them. So I had Piccoletta use her item launcher to create an ice barrier safely from a distance in order to keep Edor from advancing on my group. This worked wonders and allowed me time to start casting auto-revive on every single one of my characters. I kid you not, by the end of this battle, just about everyone has auto-revive on them. You think I might be overreacting, but Edor is absolutely capable of one-rounding just about all of your characters, and if he doesn't, the Hierophant will finish you off shortly. Medina was there to pump everyone with TP as needed to make big plays. The whole battle came down to who could build up the stronger army. Cutting Edor off makes this battle so much easier, but that didn't mean it wasn't still hard. Even once I shaved down their army, killing Edor was a pain. His Bolt of Judgment is so busted. I don't think there was a time he used it where it didn't stun my characters. That, and his ability to drain TP will reposition you, so it's best to box him in and keep him from floating around like a madman. The thing I love most about this battle is it really forces you to use every character to their limits. I had to be considering everything. Like, there was one point I noticed the Hierophant had 3 TP and she was probably going to use her field wipe, so I had Medina heal Benedict to give him 1 TP. Once his turn came around, he had enough to use his ability now, which allowed Milo to go immediately, moon jump over to the Hierophant, steal her TP, then return to boxing Edor in. All of this to keep one character from dying, but it was worth it. Eventually, I do finish Edor off without losing a unit and ascend to the triangle strategy.
Wait your turn! Why, my divine rule was to last forevermore.
This 1v1 against Leonard is the most rigged fight ever. This guy comes hopped up on stat cards, 2 attack buffs and 2 MP buffs so he can use finishers endlessly. You know a battle is hard when it makes you change up your entire playstyle. The first time Leonard smacked me so hard, Denim ended up as a ninja. I just did not think it was possible to do this fight without either cheesing or getting extremely lucky, so cheese it were. I used the ninja because they had the jump height and movement capable of kiting Leonard around the map. At the time, I knew I was cooked because when I went to look up how to beat Leonard, the only video I could find was of some guy using the winged boots. I mean, it did eventually lead to the idea of turning Denim into a ninja, which he stayed for the rest of my run. Now if you go look up the fight, Coffee Potato has a wonderful guide on how to 1v1 Leonard. I wish that was there when I needed it. I mean, Leonard is just nasty. He kept spamming Vile Wound on me. I never thought those advertisements claiming I wouldn't last 2 minutes were true, but Leonard showed me the reality. Since I didn't have the luxury of spamming finishers, I had to spam cast ninjutsu to kill Leonard. Also, for some reason, he's immune to the stop ninjutsu even when you have concentration active, which I think is total bullshit. They could have at least made it a coin toss. I definitely still got lucky with this battle because there was a point where he cornered me. Thankfully, I was able to hit myself with my own ninjutsu, it crit me, and thanks to that, I was knocked back a square, allowing me to create enough distance to not die, and as a plus, I was able to pick up a magic buff card that strengthened my ninjutsu. This was some real Naruto shit right here. I'll never forget the beating Leonard gave me, and the worst part is, it was my choice. I could have had others come with me, but I thought the 1v1 would be fair and exciting.
You've grown strong, Denim. And you were right.
This map is hands down one of the best and hardest maps I've ever had the pleasure of experiencing in a strategy RPG ever. The premise for this map is you're buying time for the people of Fort Lorica to escape the Mort army. The fort is under full siege from all directions while being defended by the Ashen Hawks. This map kicks so much ass that when I got to the final battle that was right after, it didn't even feel like a challenge compared to what I had just been through. I felt hollow bashing the final boss over the head, regardless of the fact that he had a second phase. Something about this survival map changed me. In Redemption Reapers, there are multiple types of enemies with very different quirks that you have to account for when encountering them. You have the basic attacker, an archer, a caster, spear enemies, enemies that will reposition you, enemies that can teleport ignoring terrain, enemies that can debuff you, enemies that can do AoE attacks. The game takes all of this and throws the fucking book at you. I had no clue when this shit was gonna stop, and it was absolutely frightening seeing hordes of enemies that you, the player, were going to have to figure out how to best. I just couldn't believe how much faith the game was putting in the player to take on an endless wave of enemies. Like, be for real, what comes to your mind when you look across a map, see all these different types of enemies, and know that they're gonna be running it straight down at you?
Oh shit.
Exactly.
Like, some of these situations I couldn't even believe I was managing to think my way out of. It's like I entered an ultra instinct flow state of strategy games where I could pre-calculate the outcome of turns that haven't even happened yet. Which, usually I'm dumb as shit and make silly mistakes, but not this time. I felt like Shia LaBeouf in the second Transformer movie where he starts tweaking out in the classroom. When reviewing some of the footage, I found that some turns took me over 20 minutes to execute because they required that much thought. I had to use every mechanic available to me. Some of these enemies I killed by the skin of my teeth. Let's take a look at turn 4 where things really ramped up. See right here, we have about 9 enemies we need to worry about. The biggest threats currently are the caster, the Blade Runner guys, and the big Chungus in the back. The caster is a pain to deal with because he can shred our tank Urs with ease. Magic defense is calculated as faith. Urs has 0 faith, which means unless he's defending or has a certain axe equipped, he will take full damage from the caster. The really cool balanced part about this is his ability Soulstone allows him to take half physical damage and counter enemies, but still receive full magic damage. So you have to manage the decision of choosing when you should try to set up counterattacks or go full offensive. In this case, I know not killing enough of these enemies will spell disaster. I have Urs go for an AoE attack to soften the enemies up. Positioning really matters in Redemption Reapers because your characters can provide follow-up attacks on adjacent enemies. Follow-up attacks happen before the enemy counterattack, meaning a well-calculated plan will always benefit you. I have Love take out the teleporting Reaper with an attack that lifesteals, then position him near the Blade Runner to set up a follow-up attack for Sarah once I get to her turn. Thankfully, I'm able to take out enough of the enemies near Urs to focus on killing the bigger threats. I have Sarah go to the farthest side of the enemy to prevent her from being focused by the caster and spearmen. She has the lowest physical defense, so enemies will almost always try to kill her. Thankfully, she's fast and can dodge some attacks, but I try not to bank on that too often. Her dodging was usually a coin toss, so I found it best to play extremely safe. There's just so much going on here in terms of things to consider. Like for instance, letting Urs get the last hit on enemies so his equipped item will activate to heal him, or having Luff position himself away from allies to get damage boost. I could go into everything else, but if you were to ever pick this game up and play it, I think some of these things are best experienced for yourself. Even after slaying those enemies, there were still more approaching, so I didn't have time to feel good about myself. This map took me 2 hours, and that was just one attempt. I absolutely blasted this map, and you know what my reward for fending off all of these enemies was? A fucking B. That's right, I didn't lose a single unit, slayed 44 enemies, and collected all the treasure on the map, and my reward was a fucking B. At this point, I'll never make Papa Horikawa proud. As you can see, these strategy RPGs offer some serious challenges in terms of testing the player's limits. If you have any battles from any strategy RPGs that you just can't forget, feel free to share them in the comments below. Also, if you'd like to see another video like this for other strategy games I've played, let me know. Until next time, later!